Hi, I'm Ken Thompson, and I'm going to give you a very brief introduction to how to run and facilitate the network leadership game, or the NLG as we call it. So once you log in and you get your login account, if you mouse over the name of the game, it gives you some important information about it. It's basically there to help leaders explore how to develop and lead successful networks and communities. And these could be for business purposes or social purposes. And there is a base case in it that it's configured for, and it's quite a generic challenge you have as a leader. You're setting up and successfully operating over 6 time periods a small network, typically about 30 members. It's what I would call a hybrid network, so the members can meet physically and virtually. And also it's quite generic in that you can assume you're in the one organization, or you can alternatively assume your members are drawn from multiple organizations. Now, it's not a network in this case just to share and get to know each other or share important business learning. It's a project-oriented network. So the example is it's being set up primarily for the creation of an important collaborative artifact. And that could be a new process, a new strategy, a new proposal. It really depends on how you want to spin that. And the facilitator can add a bit more detail to make this more concrete for the participants. Now, the network leadership game can be configured for other network scenarios, but that's not included in the base model. So we're giving you quite a generic little base model to play with. Then if you look at the general screen, you've got a nice little help area, which tells you how it works, but gives you a little system dynamics model, what's really happening. Or this could also be called a causal model or a cause and effect model. You have these 5 decisions you've got to make every time period. And basically, what percentage of your time are you putting into these 5 activities? And I'll show you how that works. We simplify it so you don't have to put in percentages. So for example, if you invest in recruitment, recruitment generates members, and members contribute to the overall maturity of the network. And the maturity of the network then enhances the level of results you will get after you execute specific projects and work. So 4 of these activities are network building. The 5th activity is execution. But you don't, to get results, you have to do execution. But if you do it too early and the network's very immature, the results won't be very good. So there's a sweet spot of getting the network mature enough to do activities, but not expecting the network to be perfect. And then if a network's generating results, these results get known about, and it becomes easier to recruit members. And there's a few other little loops in there. Members can refer other members, and new leaders can come from members, and leaders can also refer members. So you have these 4 activities that are specifically network building, one other activity that's about generating results. And it looks a simple model, but it actually creates some quite interesting dynamics. There's a bit more about the rules in the help screen, and then we have a number of things for a facilitator. This could be done very quickly, like a session like this with maybe 20 people in a room or less or more could be done in 20 minutes. But if you want people to learn, then there's other techniques you can use. So for example, having them think about what they currently believe about what community leadership involves, having them play the game, then refining their mental models as a result of that, maybe playing the game again, refining mental models. So this could easily turn into a little 2-hour facilitated session about the challenges of network building. Now, Einstein says all models are wrong, but some are useful. So we're not suggesting this is the right way to build networks or communities, but it's hopefully a useful way to think about it. So the idea is, when you're playing this, you're making your mistakes in a computer simulation rather than making them in life. So we're right at the start. We've got a decision screen, and we've got also a stats page we can go to as well. But let's just look at the decisions. And so the network started off with 10 members, no leaders. Its environment is, essentially the virtual technology that's enabling the members to engage with each other. And you might have nothing here at all. This one, you will need something. Engagement then is what you're doing to bring the network members together, and I'll say a bit more about that. And then you've got your results. So for example, in round 1, I might decide I'm going to put a bit of work into the environment, which is the system that's going to be used to communicate. So I click on environmental setup help, and it says it sets up the environment, and it gives me 2 different options. Strategy on means I'm focusing on the content of the environment. Strategy off means I'm focusing on the communications. So if I wanted to put a bit of effort into setting up the content of, say, a virtual community, and I would do that. Now I also have to tick the action box to say I want to do that. Now what this means is I am currently going to put 100% of my effort in here, because that's the only box ticked. But say I decided also right at the start, in parallel with this, I'm going to do a little bit of work on getting leaders. So I would click the action box, and then if I look here under leadership development produces leaders in the community. That's great. That's what I want to do. There are 2 different leadership development strategies: coaching strategy button off and formal training strategy button off. So I'm going to do a little bit of leadership development through coaching. So I put that button on. So what this means is half of my effort's going in here and half of my effort's going in here. And if I could initiate, I could do everything, but the simulation will actually penalize you for thin slicing. You're not really making any decisions. You're trying to do a bit of everything. And heads up, that doesn't work well in life, and it certainly doesn't work well in this simulation. I'm not actually doing anything in terms of the end results yet. So let me just hit submit. And there I've got 1 leader, and the environment's got up to about 30%. You can see the environment's still on the borderline of red and amber. So in the second round, I might need to do a little bit more work here. So I might say, well, 1 leader's enough to get me started. I'm going to do some member recruitment. And if I look at the help screen, strategy on is 1-to-1 and strategy off is group events. So I'm going to do a wee bit of group recruitment. So now 50% of my effort in period 2 is going into member recruitment, and 50% is going into environment. Okay, so I'm now in round 3, and as I said, this is a purposeful network. So at some point, when things are all looking good, and I'm not suggesting they're there at the minute, I might need to do some actually get the people I've got on board, the 16 members and 1 leaders, to start working whatever they're supposed to start work on. So I'm going to not do any more investment in the environment for now, and then I'm going to take action. So that means I'm still recruiting members here, But let's say I don't want to do that. I'm going to work with the members I've got. Cohesion then, there's two types of things I can do with the members I've got. I can do trust building, or I can do alignment building. Well, I think I'm going to do alignment building, making sure the goals are right. So I leave the strategy button off. So I have to tick the action here. So now, round 3, 50% here, 50% here. Submit. And that's the way it proceeds. And I have a couple more rounds left. If I look at the stats, I'm getting a wee bit of results now. So you're coming back, you've got some results, but heads up, round about 1500 plus is a kind of good set of results that basically means you got the network in reasonable shape and you didn't leave results building to too late. And when you finish just finish it off then, a couple more rounds, that's us done. If you want to run it again, then all you have to do is hit the refresh button and you're back to the start again and go start new session. So that's a quick introduction to the Network Leaders game, the NLG simulation.